Hey everyone! In this video, we are going to learn how to draw our seam lines on our garments, and then we're going to use those seam lines to divide out separate panels so that we have separate objects for each panel of our garment. Here I have on the left side an example of the garment we are drawing, and on the right here is the progress we are making. Here I have a princess seam on this panel on my garment on the left. So I would like to have a seam for that garment here. If I use my arrow, I can select this object and I see that I just have the sleeve and the bodice, but I really need this seam line and I would like those to be two separate pieces. This is for several reasons. One, it's technically correct. If this were a garment being sewn together in real life, those would be separate pattern pieces. And so if it's a separate pattern piece in our construction, then it should be separate pattern pieces in our illustrations. That's going to give us the most control over our drawing and over our illustration, especially when it comes to coloring our garment. So let's go ahead and draw this seam line. I'm going to use the pen tool. I want to make sure that nothing is selected. I'm going to go to this point here. I'm going down straight for the most part, and I'm going to give it a slight curve, and I'll let go. Now, I didn't make sure I had the correct stroke or fill, so I need to fix that. Let me get a black stroke and make sure I have correct stroke weight. Okay, so this looks good, but if I were to go and color this garment and say I wanted this panel to be one color and then this panel to be a separate color, I would not be able to do that with my drawing as it is. So I need these to be separate shapes. Now, the way I like to do it, I like to keep the main shape on the bottom and then have the additional shapes on top. And this gives me the most control over adjustments of my drawing in the future. If I need to make adjustments, I don't need to merge things back together. I can simply remove. What I'm going to do is I am going to select this seam line and I'm going to select my panel and I will go ahead and copy and paste that. Now I want to make sure that this line is intersecting, and I see here it is not intersecting at the bottom. And it looks like it is over here. So the first thing I need to do is I need to use my white arrow and make sure it's going down and intersecting. You can go a little further just to ensure this, because this next step will not work if it is not meeting or going beyond the line of the other shape. I zoom out now and I'm going to select these two objects. I'm going to select the line and our bodice. And I am going to use the Pathfinder tool to divide this shape out. So we will go to Window, Pathfinder, and I am going to use the Divide tool. Now, it doesn't look like a whole lot happened just there, but when I use my white arrow, I can see that these are now two different shapes. And the only shape that I need is this panel right here with the strap. So I'm going to delete this panel, and I am actually going to delete this seam line I just drew over here, and I can place this piece on top. That way, when I go to colorize this in the future, I will have full control. So for example, if I wanted to be having a little bit of color blocking fun right now, I can do that. Now there is another way to divide out the panel. So let me go ahead and select that line and the bodice again, copy and paste. I'm going to zoom in, make sure I extend this line. What we're going to use here is called the Shape Builder tool. Here I'm going to select the line and the object, and I'm going to my Shape Builder tool in my toolbar. It looks like a cloud. So I'm going to click on the left area and I see it highlighting in red the first shape. And then I'm going to click on the right area and I see it highlighting in red the second shape. Now it looks like it just turned them to white, but if I go in with my arrow, I can see that they're actually divided into two different shapes. So I could go ahead and bring this bodice piece over here, and I could fill it with gray and remove the old seam line and place it on top. It works very similarly to the Pathfinder tool. It's just another way of doing the same thing. So I hope that this helps you learn how you can divide your different panels out in your garment so that you can have the most control when it comes time for coloring and rendering your garment. Please let me know if you have any questions.